Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider with the National Weather Service. It's the 7th of June, and as always, we encourage you to stay up to date with your local weather information. You can do that easily by calling us at 1-800-472-0391 for the Alaska Weather Information Line. And you can find us online at weather.gov/Alaska, or if you haven't tried yet, use our mobile version. Mobile, mobile.weather.gov. Simply type in your location or your zip code, and that should help to bring your phone or your mobile device into a mobile-friendly web page that you can bookmark, save to your home screen, and use just like you would any other weather app, but from your trusted source here at the National Weather Service. Give it a try. And if you have problems with that, let me know. I'm happy to help you anytime if you send me an email, david.snider@noaa.gov. And of course, I love to see your weather pictures. Thanks for the ones you've sent, and send one of where you are in your Alaska, and we'll certainly get it on the show. Let's take a look at what's going on across the region. We're still looking at a flood advisory up around the Kuparuk River. It sounds like things are improving near some of the bridge access points there, but a flood advisory remains as water levels remain high. We are this close to being done with breakup, and we're not going to show the breakup map anymore because we're that much closer to being done with breakup. However, there's still some ice across some of our rivers and right along the coastline, right along the edge of the coast itself that has not completely allowed the rivers to completely flush out, and therefore flooding is continuing on the Kuparuk and perhaps some of the other local water areas that you have there. Look for some improvements, but it is going to get much colder, and while there's no warning present right now, colder air is dropping southward, which could slow down some of that melting of that final bits of ice. Looks like that will be moving in as we head into Saturday and Sunday night and Monday. Many parts of the interior will be feeling the chill from that. In the meantime, we're watching fire danger. This is the latest map, and you'll notice that we've added some red to our map today. That's the extreme fire danger around the Fort Yukon area and also up around the Kobuk, Noatak areas in the valleys there. We've spread this out a little bit more across the middle of Yukon and the upper Koyukuk as conditions have been drying out there, and we expect some wind coming off the Brooks Range, so conditions may worsen a little bit before they get better. The colder air heading southward, though, will lower relative humidities, or actually, improve or increase those. And as that happens, that may improve some of the fire danger. So the cold weather certainly could bring some better changes there, but may not be the changes you necessarily want to see. Across southwest, south central, and southeast, no major risks there. Anytime you want to check out this map for yourself, you'll find something very similar at fire.ak.blm.gov. Let's take a look at the satellite pictures now as we get through your Thursday. The visible satellite picture shows a low pressure system across the central and eastern Gulf has become pretty ragged there. It's incorporated an awful lot of dry air, really wiping out a lot of the cloud cover that you see across the eastern Gulf and the northern Gulf for that matter. So rainmaker it is not, but it is still making some rain across Prince William Sound and across areas closer to the western Alaska range. This surge of moisture is working northward today, and it may bring some showers into the region later tonight, moving from south to north and across the interior. Of course, we're watching showers and thunderstorms fire up once again. You can watch those clouds bubbling up here in this channel pretty much from the upper Yukon all the way through Fairbanks and into southwestern Alaska. There's also a corridor of rain and thunder stretching out across the Kobuk and Noatak valleys, the western end of the upper Koyukuk here, and then into the south-facing slopes of the Brooks Range, generally west of Arctic Village as of mid-afternoon. High pressure sitting across the central and western Bering Sea. A lot of this is low stratus. Some of it certainly could be fog. This is fog up here across the North Slope, and thanks to high pressure working its way southward and a reinforcing blast from the jet stream coming in around 100 knots, it's pretty much crossing over the North Pole, and you know it's colder up there. So as that continues working its way southward into the North Coast, we're going to see a big change in the weather there as we head into tomorrow night and then eventually into Saturday night and Sunday for many other locations around the Brooks Range. So there is some areas of light rain and light snow right now up across the North Slope. Point Thompson again was looking at some light snow earlier today. What does that mean as we go into even colder weather? Well, right now it looks like we're going to see a better chance for snow all the way from Wainwright and Point Lay, probably toward areas around Kaktoik and southward. And a lot of that could bring a couple inches of snow to even more up around the Brooks Range there. So watch for weather alerts, warnings from the National Weather Service office in Fairbanks, who is all over this weather change, and they're doing a very good job tracking it. But make sure you're paying attention to what they have to say on Twitter, on Facebook, or on weather.gov/Fairbanks to get the very latest information there. For this afternoon, showers and thunderstorms are stretching across the upper Yukon all the way towards southwest. There's several waves of low pressure that are working through, but the main factor is the heating of the day, and there's plenty of sunshine that has been hitting the ground and popped those thunderstorms into go mode fairly quickly this afternoon. Low pressure stretched out around the Gulf. We saw that on satellite and how ragged that was. When we add in the front, it makes a little more sense about where the rain showers should be, and we see those right up against the coast. There are a few passing showers here and there, but overall it's not a smattering or a wall-to-wall washout of rainfall. High pressure is sitting across the western Bering, and that is pushing down on the atmosphere, making it easier for those clouds to stay fairly low. The stratus and fog is certainly predominant out in the west, and we have a hint of another wave of weather way across the southern end of your screen. By tonight, that'll be a 992 millibar low. It'll probably become a weaker gale, maybe a modest gale as it moves just south of the Aleutian chain. That'll spread rain into places like Adak, Aka, and Unalaska and Dutch Harbor, if anywhere. And it'll probably bring the winds up a little bit more, but this is not going to be the storm that you write home about. Low pressure across the eastern Gulf will pull up a little bit more of that wetter air through southeast tonight, bringing the chance of showers up for some. It won't be a wall-to-wall shower wave coming through the region, but be prepared for some wet weather, of course. Showers will be possible across many sections of the interior, just south of the Yukon Valley, all the way out to the Seward Peninsula and down toward Lake Iliamna. South Central, mainly over the Chugach, you'll probably see some showers. The best chance for lightning overnight will be in the upper Kuskokwim and generally just west of the Alaska Range. Showers are expected to hold around the Brooks Range as well, with fog still falling, or still in the region around North Slope. Snow showers may still be possible overnight is where I was going with that. Up north on Friday, fog is still likely north of the North Slope. High pressure will be working its way southward, and you can see a part of that right about here. As this continues to work its way southward towards Saturday, we'll see even more changes. Showers and thunderstorms will form just south of the Brooks Range once again and along the Alaska Range out towards southwestern Alaska and the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. And even a thunderstorm is possible around the Seward Peninsula as we get into your Friday, with high pressure sitting across the western Bering Sea. We expect to see showers across southeast as well. Here's Saturday. And you can see how that ridge of high pressure is pushing southward as that slowly works in that colder air across the North Slope. Areas of snow and rain and snow may be possible. The blue shaded areas, of course, is snow, and we expect to see at least a little bit from Barrow out toward Prudhoe Bay and Dead Horse and Kaktovik eventually, and probably as far west as Point Lay. Showers and thunderstorms will be possible south of that. The other effect that we're watching is more of a northerly flow setting up across the Alaska Range, which will tend to dry things out around south central Alaska, and that could bring up fire danger concerns as we head through the weekend. So be extra careful with fire as always. For southeast, watch for a few showers here and there, especially around Yakutat and the southern sections of the Panhandle, with low pressure across the western Gulf at 994 millibars. Winds will come up briefly for Unalaska, Dutch Harbor, all the way towards Sand Point, and high pressure is also sitting across the central and western Bering, keeping that stratus deck intact. Here we go. Temperatures for Friday morning, 20s still for the North Slope as we get into the interior, lows in the upper 30s and to about 50 degrees around Galena. Southeast, looking at temps in the mid-40s overnight, upper 40s for South Central, Kodiak 44, 38 in St. Paul, Adak, and Atka around 40 degrees with highs there back in the mid-40s for your daytime tomorrow. Upper 60s and lower 70s for most of our interior locations from Fort Yukon toward Fairbanks, Tanana, all the way up toward Ambler, Galena, Huslia. As we get down toward McGrath, temps there will be fairly mild. South Central, mid-50s to low 60s, it looks like. Southeast in the upper 50s. Nome about 57. Morning lows on Saturday in the mid to upper 20s. 40s and 50s for the interior. South Central 40s. Southeast about the same. And upper 30s and lower 40s for the West Coast and South Central. 4 highs on Saturday. Still fairly warm, but cooling down up north.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
On to flying weather now. IFR is still socked in across the North Slope. A 100-knot jet looks to be pointing right at the North Slope and punching into Alaska later this weekend, so a lot of this probably won't improve a whole lot. We'll continue to under this very general weather pattern as high pressure at the surface is pushing in north and easterly winds for a large part of the region. So keep watch on some breaks in that and find your times to travel. Across southeast, MVFR across some of the higher terrain and through Stevens Passage and parts of the outer coast, but also looking at hit and miss VFR in there as well. Some of that will work its way into Prince William Sound, and then once you get inland a little bit more, you'll run back into the MVFR conditions. Look for widespread IFR across just about all of the Aleutians into parts of the Alaska Peninsula up to just about Lake Iliamna, Dillingham included there, and around Nunivak Island and south toward Cape Newenham. As we get into Friday afternoon, there may be your hole across the north. MVFR conditions will be fairly widespread, but you're not looking at wall-to-wall IFR. So you might be able to work your way southward if you need to. Widely scattered showers and thunderstorms will be back, so you have to move around those. Southeast looks for improvement. VFR expected there for the afternoon, and IFR still widespread across the chain and up to the Pribilofs into parts of Bristol Bay. For Saturday morning, there's the IFR working its way back in toward the coast again. This may be a little bit more widespread, and there may be snow in the region as well, for the North Slope anyway. North of Barrow, Nutqiavik, and northwest of Point Hope, Point Lay, you're looking at IFR to stretch into the Chukchi. IFR conditions push back into Prince William Sound, parts of the Copper River Valley. Hit and miss across southeast, you're looking at a better chance for MVFR there. And then IFR continues across the Bering Sea and the Pribilofs, as well as the Aleutians there and just south of Kodiak Island. That shifts northward just a little bit more Saturday afternoon. Widespread convection shifts southward, mainly south of the Yukon Valley into the Kuskokwim Valley, the Bristol Bay region, and generally north of the Alaska Range. South central, you're looking at MVFR conditions mainly into Prince William Sound and the Copper River Valley. Cook Inlet looks to be pretty okay. IFR conditions for the Gulf and south of Kodiak Island to Sandpoint and westward, but maybe some improvement for the Pribilofs. It'll be a close call. And VFR still expecting to hold on to most of southeast and the Seward Peninsula really as we get into Saturday afternoon. Here's your pass conditions in Anaktuvik and Adigan Pass. We expect to see improvements toward marginal conditions by Friday afternoon. But every time we look at the map, it looks like the north and northeasterly winds kind of hold on just a little bit longer. So plan on the possibility of some improvements up north, but also plan on some snow, it looks like, as we go into the weekend. Chance for showers and thunderstorms for each area, mainly on the south side, of course. Lake Clark and Merrill Pass expecting to start at IFR for Friday, but leaning over pretty fast to VFR conditions, so if you need to shoot through there, you should be okay. Showers and thunderstorms possible in the afternoon. Same goes for Rainy Pass, looking to clear up and improve as we get into the afternoon. As far as ceilings and viz go, but watch out for convection, of course, and same goes for Windy Pass, so start at MVFR as possible. Isabel Pass, looking at marginal conditions there to start your day. Improvements expected. Same goes for Mentasta Pass. Thunderstorms mainly on the northern side. Tenita Pass, we expect to see marginal conditions most of the day. Showers and storms will be possible there. VFR ending up in Portage Pass. Chilkoot and White Pass looks to be marginal most of your Friday. Freezing levels indicate that most of the interior is holding between about 4,000 and 6,000 feet. You can see some cooler air holding up across the northern coast, another blob of cooler air here across the eastern Gulf. This is all surrounding that area of low pressure. The daytime heating there pushing those levels higher and higher right now across the interior, and out across the west, levels between 6,000 to 8,000 feet for most of the chain there as we get into your Friday morning. Icing potential is somewhat limited to about 5,000 to 6,000 feet across the Alcan border, above 8,000 to 9,000 feet for the north and eastern Gulf. The highest concentrations will be down south, and we're watching for snow potential here across the north. And right now it looks like mainly snow to start, but it could lean over as we get into Saturday and Sunday into more of a mixture across the north slope. So keep watch on that. Widely scattered showers and thunderstorms possible there, of course. The jet stream has that fast-moving river of air well south of Alaska. The thing I'm watching is that northerly flow punching in as we get into Friday night, Saturday and Sunday, and that northerly push is going to change up the weather for more parts of the interior. You can already see some of the changes here. Light winds, 10 knots from the north and northwest across the Arctic coast. Low pressures in the Gulf, drawing in winds off of southeast, 10 to 15 knots, and a stronger southeasterly flow is developing for the central and eastern chain. At 3,000 feet, winds are a little bit stronger there, 50 knots there coming in around Unalaska and Dutch Harbor from the south. Low pressure still holding in the Gulf, winds not terrible there, and north and northeasterly winds setting up across the north slope for Friday, again at 3,000 feet. Turbulence potential, well, we've got widespread convection across the interior, some low-level turbulence there, an isolated moderate just north of the Bering Strait, and across the central and eastern chain, a possibility for some considerable moderate from Atka east toward Unalaska and Dutch Harbor.
We have cleaned over 1,500 miles of shoreline now.
Basically, it comes down to just human muscle. I mean, we use chainsaws and knives.
We find stuff from like Russia and China and Korea, Vietnam, Malaysia. It really doesn't matter where it comes from. We all just have to clean it out.
Our goal right now in the next 10 or 11 days before the end of this year is just to see how much we can collect before we get to remove it.
What you see on the beach is a fraction of what's out there. You can pretty much break it down into 3 or 4 things. Water bottles, a lot of water bottles, styrofoam, fishing nets, fishing buoys. And that's 99% of what you find on the beach. Basically just go along with chainsaws and muscle and get the garbage, put it in sacks, and then from there we haul it up above the log jam so it's out of any heavy surf or winter storms if it's going to stay there for the year, and put it in super sacks. So yeah, we just progressively work down the coast, just day in and day out.
We have like daily goals for ourselves that, like, if we're working at a pretty good rate, we like to keep on pace with about, like, I don't know, about 20 to 25 super sacks a day. So this is pile 102, and in this pile right now we have 2 super sacks and 1 set of buoys. June 23rd here, this is what we've done today. We're up to 25 super sacks on the day, and I think for now we'll call it and just keep cleaning until tomorrow.
My name is Hannah, and I represent a organization in Japan called Japan Environmental Action Network. With over 20 people working together to clean up the beach, this is amazing. Like, we all need to work together to, clean up the beach as much as possible. So like every single time I go back to Japan, I talk to the fishermen, and the fishermen's like, it's a joke, but they're like, if you find any buoy with my logo, you gotta bring it back, and it's like, always looking out for that stuff.
The crew's awesome. I mean, we're all skiers or snowboarders, and we're all friends. I mean, we're all good friends. My dad started it. He's the man behind the desk. He makes the ball roll for sure. He works hard. He doesn't give up easy, which is good.
This stuff is uplifted quite a ways during the earthquake. Well, I think my bag's about full already. Yeah. I'm gonna take a quick look back in here, see what else is back here. The thing about marine debris is it's kind of a hidden problem. Unless you're out there, especially on these remote beaches that are so heavily impacted, people don't see it. I remember probably a good 20 years ago, I was out on the outside of Montague Island, flew out there, and I was just utterly astounded by all the garbage out there. You walk out there and you wade through this stuff and you go, this isn't right, this shouldn't happen.
I think a lot of it's just awareness. I mean, I've been boating out here for a long time, and I wasn't even aware of how extensive the marine debris problem is out here, but it's a consumer world out there for sure. I mean, I don't know where people's values are, I guess, but mine is you got to kind of have a little bit of respect for the environment, and considering we live in it, especially in Alaska. I mean, a lot of people like the outdoors and like to be part of the outdoors. That's why they live here, and it's they don't necessarily want to see it trashed.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Time for a quick check of your sea ice edge, and you'll notice that most of the concentrated ice across the central and eastern Beaufort seacoast has not moved. Predominant winds have been in from the north and the northeast, but we will see a change in the next couple days, but it is going to come at the cost of colder weather as we get into Saturday and Sunday for sure, and that may move some of this ice in different ways, especially for regions here closer to the marginal ice that's just east of Prudhoe Bay and northeast of Kaktovik. For the Chukchi Sea, not a whole lot of changes there either. You'll notice again a couple days ago that peninsula of ice that was sticking out toward Point Hope, that is gone. And the areas of warm and open water have expanded a little bit, and now that marginal ice zone is just barely east of Barrow and Utqiagvik. For the very latest ice edge information, you can always head to weather.gov/Anchorage/ice. Here's a look at southeast forecast. For your Friday, south and southeasterly winds will be blowing in around 10 to 20 knots, the strongest of which will be south of Sitka, with 6 to 7 foot seas there, 2 to 3 foot seas on the inside, 10 to 15 knots from the south and southeast. A little bit of a stronger wind in the Lynn Canal as we head into Saturday, up to 4 foot seas expected there. Not a big change for Stevens Passage or on down to Clarence Strait. Across the outer coast, winds start to come in from the west and northwest, and you'll see seas around 5 feet there for your Saturday. For south central Alaska, really no big change either. You're looking at southerly winds up Cook Inlet, about 3 to 4 foot seas expected there on the 15-knot wind. Westerlies, 10 knots, 2 foot seas inside of Prince William Sound, and about the same there for the north and western Gulf. Outside of Resurrection Bay, expect 15 knots from the west with a 5 foot sea on Friday, and then it will diminish even more as we head into Saturday. Southwesterlies outside of Hitchinbrook Entrance, 10 knots there and 3 foot seas, 2 foot seas on the inside. Still looking pretty good if you're heading out to Prince William Sound to start up the weekend. And south and southwesterlies up and down Cook Inlet. Seas ranging around 3 feet or so for most of the water. Friday's forecast in southwest, you'll see southwesterly winds coming into Bristol Bay, 3 foot seas and light winds around 15 knots. Easterlies north of Cold Bay in the Alaska Peninsula, and southwesterlies fairly light south of the Alaska Peninsula itself. But on either side of Kodiak Island, winds will be stronger, about 15 to 20 knots there with 4 to 5 foot seas, the highest of which will be in Shelikof Strait. Look for improvement on Saturday, though. Easterlies around 10 knots with a 2 foot sea. There's southerlies east of Kodiak Island, 15 knots. But notice the winds are coming up now around south of False Pass, south of Sand Point, as low pressure is working south of the Aleutians and heading into the western Gulf. Expect gales in the region there as we get into Saturday and Sunday, but it shouldn't amount to a whole lot more than what you see here. As we get into Friday for the chain, that low pressure system we were just looking at is making its way just south of Adak and Atka and Nikolsky. The strongest Winds and the highest seas will be just south of the region, looking for 4 to 8 foot seas in the region on Friday. Easterlies still blowing across the Bering Sea coast, 15 to about 25, with 3 to as high as 7 foot seas across the region there on Friday. And you'll see improvements in most areas for wind speed on Saturday. Seas still holding around 6 to 7 feet along the Bering Sea coast, but seas come up to 11 to 12 feet south of Unalaska to Nikolsky, still holding on to 9 foot seas south of Adak and Atka for Saturday as winds become a little more northerly following the low. Around the west coast, 10 to 15 knot winds all areas, 3 foot seas inside of Norton Sound, 4 foot seas south of St. Lawrence Island. Southeasterly winds fairly light around St. Paul and St. George as high pressure is still protecting the Bering Sea. It is locking in areas of fog and stratus, but winds are still light. That's going to change a little bit on Saturday as northerlies start to take shape and blow through the Bering Sea. You can see a little bit of a stronger wind coming in just north of St. Lawrence Island, making its way south of the island as well. 25 knots with 8 foot seas there. 4 foot seas around St. Paul and St. George. Otherwise, a north and easterly wind around Nunivak Island and the Kuskokwim Delta. Only 10 knots with a 2 foot sea on Saturday. Northeast, watch for changes here. Northeasterly winds, 15 knots over the ice. Stronger winds here across the Chukchi, 25 to 30 knots with 5 to 9 foot seas. On Saturday, a much colder wind blows in, 20 to 25 knots over the ice. North and northwesterlies blowing into the Chukchi coast, anywhere from 20 to 25, and 4 to 7 foot seas are expected there. And there's going to be snow, especially across the north slope. So prepare for changes as we head through the weekend. Here's a look at the weather map for tonight. Showers still possible around southeast. Watch for showers and thunderstorms around the Alaska range and into southwest, and around Brooks Range we're watching for some showers to develop there. A few thunderstorms left over overnight across the upper Kuskokwim. Whatever we have this evening should diminish. As we go into the north slope, areas of fog there. Showers to the south of the Brooks Range, a more widely scattered area of thunderstorms tomorrow. Showers still possible in southeast, and a gale moving across the North Pacific into the western Gulf for the weekend. As that continues pressing eastward, the strongest winds will be from Sandpoint toward Unalaska and Dutch Harbor on Saturday, but really not all that strong. Areas of snow work into the north slope, and showers and thunderstorms move southward closer to the Alaska Range and southwest. Thanks for watching Alaska Weather.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.